So with chemical changes, if matter undergoes a chemical change, that means new substances are formed. And you're going to see that, to me, chemical change kind of goes lock and step, hand, or whatever, with a chemical property. So new substances are formed. I've got some videos coming up for you, see if we can see how evidence of new substances being formed. So I think that I brought this in here just to kind of remind you that if this is kind of what you have to start with on kind of a atomic or molecular level, that's not what you have to end with when a chemical change has happened. Now, if it's an ordinary chemical change, then you still have the same atoms of the same types of elements that were involved as what we call reactants. But okay. So we're going to build up to it, but some of you maybe already know this is actually what we call a chemical equation. So this is CHM equation. And it's kind of like again, we'll talk more about chemical equations later, but it's kind of like a mathematical equation, whereas you see kind of this arrow right here, that kind of divides the two sides. And we read chemical equations from left. We read chemical equations from left to right, just like we read a sentence from left to right. So we're going to start here, okay, and we're going to end here. The stuff we start with, which would be two things. We start with P4 and Cl2. These are called reactants. Goodness gracious. And what we end with are called products. There's a quick and dirty sort of look at it. So right away, can you see where new substances are formed? So if I start with P4 and Cl2, what's formed? Well, PCl3. So here's a couple of videos to show these chemical changes. I hope.
In the reaction of a single P4 molecule with 6 Cl2 molecules, 4 molecules of PCl3 are produced.
So I love that animation. You got to actually see the green are the Cl's and the white are the P's. So let's see what the next one looks like. Nope.
In the reaction of a single P4 molecule with 6 Cl2 molecules, 4 molecules of PCl3 are produced.
Okay, well, that's okay. Okay, my other video didn't work. Let's see about these videos. Now look to see if you see evidence, if you were just looking at this, that some sort of new substances are
When
formed.
we put magnesium metal into aqueous hydrochloric acid, the two react. Aqueous magnesium chloride is formed along with gaseous hydrogen.
So it wasn't just a simple dissolving process. You actually saw gas. That was a new substance that was formed. Let's see.
When calcium carbonate, marble, is placed in hydrochloric acid, carbonic acid is produced, which is converted to gaseous carbon dioxide and water in a gas-forming reaction.
Pretty cool. One more.
When magnesium burns in air, the magnesium is oxidized and oxygen reduced. The product of this oxidation-reduction reaction is a white solid, magnesium oxide.
You guys are actually going to do that in the lab this semester. Okay. So now, for each one of these, we could have written a chemical equation, like with the arrow. So on the left, we'd put reactants, and on the right, we'd put products. We could have done that for each one of these. This is just a figure from, oops. So this is just a figure from your textbook that shows you how iron is transformed in the presence of, I think it's water and oxygen, into iron oxide. So kind of on an atomic level, you can see where you start with something different than what you end with. Well, that's kind of nice. Okay, so let's see if we can see new substances being formed here. This is just kind of showing you a figure of, we have liquid butane down here as the fuel. And again, the black are carbons and the white are hydrogens. And here we have going to have a flint lighter, and it's going to, combine with, it's not burning, is it? Oh, look at this. I just answered my own question. Look, they're the same. Okay, so this is an example of a physical change. This is where we didn't do the little flick lighter thing. We just let the butane come out. So that's a physical change. But now, now this is a chemical change. Let's see if we can see new substances are formed. Okay, so here we have the butane, and up here we have, when it burns, it releases water and carbon dioxide. So new substances are formed. So this is a chemical change. Aha! This apparatus is all about purifying. You probably are kind of familiar with maybe distillation. Distillation takes advantage of liquids having different boiling point temperatures. So here we're applying heat to our liquid. That's a mixture. And we want to go ahead and, well, here's how this works. Basically, the stuff that is a low boiler will come over first, and the stuff that is a high boiler will stay in there. So we get what's called fractions coming over. And in order to get that gas back into the liquid, we go ahead, and this thing right here is called a condenser. And what it is it's a glass tube, okay, that is hollow. It's a glass. It's a jacket. It's got, the inside is hollow, so the liquid can drop through here, but what they do, or what we can do, is go ahead and put cooling water in a jacket around the kind of hollow core where the gas can condense and form a liquid and drip in here. My point is that the molecules you start with here are going to be the same molecules you end with here, so it's just a boiling process. So this is actually just a physical process. Looking at my notes here. This is also a physical process. I don't know if I necessarily call it a change, but it's a physical process. We can go ahead and separate. In here we have some sort of liquid and solid. And so if, of course, you guys know you have one of these in your drawer, that's a funnel. And usually we put like some sort of filter paper in your funnel. It's kind of like coffee filter paper. And so what happens then, if you pour that kind of sludge stuff material, your solid will be stuck here and your liquid will come here. Now notice this is an example of a physical process. Again, no new substances are formed, but just like the physical process of distillation, it's a way of separating out components in a mixture. Okay, so chemical or physical change. So I usually tell students the physical is no new substance. I'll just put no new, okay? And a chemical, we got some sort of new substances are formed. Something different. New, actually I could say sample destroyed. Okay, so let's see what we got here. New also, it cannot be undone. No undo. All right. So, for instance, the first one might be a little tricky. I'm not sure. If you accidentally get some bleach on your shirt, and of course it bleeds out to a white. So is that a chemical change or a physical change? Well, can you undo it? Well, I say that you can't undo it without getting another dye. So actually, that is a chemical change. What else do we have? Water vapor in your breath condenses. Now, anytime, think of what condensation is. Condensation is a phase change. Okay, what I mean to say is in this case, it's going from, your water vapor is going from a gas to a liquid. That's why you can see it. So any sort of phase change must be a physical change. Plants use carbon dioxide from air to make sugar. New substances are formed here, so that must be a chemical change. Some of these are trickier than others. Butter melts if placed in the sun. So if you were to look at the butter molecules as it's solid, and actually as it melts to liquefy, the butter molecules are the same. So this is an example of a physical change. And that was the last one. We're on to assignment slide. Okay, so make sure you do these. And I like this summary slide. This just says be able to, on the test, you know, I'll give you some properties and tell me if it's a physical or chemical property, physical or chemical change. Also know properties, yin and yang, can be broken up into independent of amount and dependent on amount. Be able to know those distinguishes. We did a lot with an element, matter. Matter can be broken down into a pure substance or mixture. So be able to maybe give examples or recognize that. If it's a mixture, it can be homogeneous or heterogeneous. And if it's a pure substance, it can be an element or a compound. So this might be a good place to point out, you'll have a test at some point in this class, and I usually have what I call like a kind of a vocabulary section, or yeah, I guess it's kind of vocabulary. Keywords is the first part of my test. So, and usually it's like a blank, and then you have to fill in the blank. I don't give you a, what's it called, a word bank.